Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we have a lot of stuff to cover, but hopefully we can get through it. But all I ask is that you act like fourth graders for today and kind of try to hold your questions till the end, and then I will try to answer as many as I can. And the reason why is the first session I didn't do that, and we got way off topic, and then we didn't get through the lesson. And so I think it'd be great for you to see a full lesson in its entirety. So if you jot down a question, you can jot it on the little whiteboards on your desk, or, I don't know, type it in notes on your iPad or something like that. So I am Lizzie Vohland, and I teach fourth grade at Santa Fe Trail, and this is, we piloted EngageNY, our class. We started it kind of in November. So I haven't started the year with it. I'm really looking forward to starting the year because a big part of EngageNY is developing routine using the same vocabulary. All the lessons are structured the same way with fluency, application, concept development, problem set, debrief. So I think getting into a routine from the beginning is going to be really helpful. I know a lot of people are scared, a lot of people are overwhelmed, and we were too as a pilot school, but I will say every time you teach it, it gets easier. And your timing on things will get easier. The timing is hard to get through everything, but as you teach it every single time, I mean, you think about when we started Wonders, if you've been with the district since we started Wonders, I mean, we thought we would never get through a whole week, and think about what you can do now. So it does get easier, I promise. So one other thing, what you have in front of you is something I've created. And my teaching partner, Rebecca Neely, and I took turns creating one of these slides on PowerPoint for every lesson, and then we save it as a PDF. I share this with the kids. They have it on their iPads as I teach, and they do what I'm doing. Another way of doing it is you just have something on your screen, and they have these personal whiteboards on their table, and they do things on those. Today, you're going to do it both ways, and the group I'm about to get, I'm wondering if I might need to do more off the iPads, because that was a problem last year for them. So the personalized whiteboard is a great way of doing the different components, but they can be using their iPad as a whiteboard as well. So you have your whiteboard on your desk as well, if you would like to use that. And the people that don't have it on their iPads, you'll want to use that the whole time. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is the first lesson of the year. This is the actual thing that you will be teaching. So I always started off with reading the I can statement together, so let's read it all together.
I can interpret a multiplication equation as a comparison.
So that's a lot of big words, but all we're going to do is at the end we're going to be comparing numbers in a place value chart and deciding how they compare. So there will be a number you're going to learn that's going to make a lot more sense to you in a little bit. Okay, I would like you to find a partner that you're going to be sharing answers and things with today. And this is a really important component of EngageNY is collaboration and sharing. So it can be a group of 3, it can be 2. Go ahead and find a partner. With my kids this year, I'm going to have them share something encouraging to start the lesson off. You can do that if you'd like. So make sure you have someone you're going to talk to. If you want to give them a high five, go for it. Do you want me to have a notability to write on? Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait. It's not. Okay, let me know. Because we've been having to think about it. Okay, bring it back up here. Okay, so this is the partner you're going to be sharing with whenever I ask you to share with a partner today. The next thing every day will be fluency. Today, we start off with a sprint. Not every time will you have a sprint. I would say once every 5 lessons or so, a sprint shows up. The sprints, it's really important that you tell kids it is competition for yourself. Don't need to be comparing answers with anyone else. It is you doing this on your own and competing with yourself. The kids that don't like times tests and things like that, it's really important that they know it's not for a grade. It's just to get you warmed up. Think of it like that. So if you have, if you're doing paper and pencil, you have this sheet. So make sure you're on the A side. If you're on your iPad, just be on the one. I have the answers on there, so don't look. Okay, so for the kids, you'll give them about 3 minutes to do this. I'm going to give you 45 seconds. because I think you'll be able to answer them a little quicker. First off, I would like you to put a star on the problem you think you're going to get to in 45 seconds. So just put a star where you think you're going to get. And I'm going to have you go ahead and get back to problem 1. You can skip problems, but try to go in order. Okay? All right, ready? Begin. You have about 10 seconds left.
Did you get me? Do you want me just to airdrop? Yeah. Oh, she just airdropped it, but thank you. Oh, sure.
Stop. Okay, give yourself a pat on the back if you got to your star or farther. Okay, very good. So as a teacher, this can be a quick look and see if they're kind of meeting their own personal goals. Okay, so we're going to check these now. What I would like you to do is when I give you the answer, if you got it right, I want you to say yes, just about with that much voice, yes. All right, you say yes. If you didn't get it right, just don't say anything at all. And on your paper, if you didn't get it right, just put a line through the answer like that so you can easily count up how many you got correct at the end. Okay, we're going to do this pretty quickly. Here we go. Number 1, 20.
Yes.
30.
Yes.
40.
Yes.
50.
Yes.
10.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
3.
Yes.
5.
Yes.
1.
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Now, I always go every 10, and I stop, and I say, okay, I'm on number 11 now. If a kid loses his spot, you don't go back and read. You don't have time for that, but they can at least catch up when you have these natural breaks. Okay, so I'm on number 11. 60,
Yes.
70,
Yes.
80,
Yes.
90,
Yes.
100,
Yes.
8,
Yes.
7,
Yes.
9,
Yes.
6,
Yes.
10.
Yes.
Okay, I'm on 21. 5,
Yes.
1.
Yes.
At the bottom of the column, I want you to write how many you got correct. So there are 22 on there. So go ahead and write how many you got correct at the bottom. Okay, top of column 2, number 23. 10,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
10,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Okay, I'm on 31. 6,
Yes.
7,
Yes.
9,
Yes.
8,
Yes.
7,
Yes.
9,
Yes.
6,
Yes.
8,
Yes.
110,
Yes.
11.
Yes.
Okay, I'm on 41. 3,
Yes.
12,
Yes.
140,
Yes.
14.
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead and write how many you got correct on that column. There were another 22 of them. And at the top of the paper, I want you to write how many you got correct. So you can't have more than 44. Now, you know how many you got correct this time. Set your goal for sprint B. So go to the next slide, and if you have paper, turn it over. I want you to set your new goal. So at least what you got correct last time, or 1 more, or 2 more, or 3 more. So go ahead and put your star where you think you're going to get. Okay, 45 more seconds. Let's get back to number 1. Ready? Begin. You have 10 seconds. Stop. Okay, raise your hand if you got to your star. Raise your hand if you got farther than you did last time. Good. Okay, so And when I do that with kids, really quick, so they don't even have enough time to look around the room to see who's putting their hands up. So it's just a quick check for the teacher. Okay, same thing. When I give the answers, say yes if you got them right. This time, I think most of you got through them. But with kids, you'll hear where it trails, where the yeses stop, because you'll see kind of where kids are getting to each time. And during that time, I'm walking around and kind of looking over where they got and seeing which kids I might need to go back and fix some, help with them. But it's a quick, easy way with them saying yes for you to know where most kids got to. All right, so here we go. Number 1, 10,
Yes.
20,
Yes.
30,
Yes.
40,
Yes.
50,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Number 11, 100,
Yes.
60,
Yes.
70,
Yes.
80,
Yes.
90,
Yes.
7,
Yes.
6,
Yes.
8,
Yes.
10,
Yes.
20. Oh, sorry, number 20. 9. Okay, 9. See, I'm seeing if you're listening. Okay. Number 20 is 9. Okay, 21. 1,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and tally them up if you need to. And if the tallying becomes a problem, like if kids are having a hard time counting and subtracting and all of that, you can do what you think you need to do as a teacher. If you want to skip that improvement, if they just get to the their STAR goal, might start the year off like that, because I can see that being a problem. Like, I'm not done counting how many I have right, and this is not meant to spend a lot of time on, so you don't want to have that be taking up too much of your time. Okay, 23, 2,
Yes.
10,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
10,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Number 31, 3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
9,
Yes.
7,
Yes.
8,
Yes.
9,
Yes.
6,
Yes.
7,
Yes.
110,
Yes.
11.
Yes.
Okay, 41, 120,
Yes.
12,
Yes.
130,
Yes.
13.
Yes.
Okay, did you hear how less people were saying yes towards the end? So I can kind of gauge that most of you, got at least 34 or higher. So that is a nice way of doing that. Now, if yes gets boring, woohoo, 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 or snap or clap or whatever you want to do to jazz things up a little bit. Okay, so that is the sprint portion. So that ideally takes 10 minutes total. So we did it a little quicker just because I set the time less, but it tells you 10. You have 2 sprints and you need to check them. So as a teacher, you need to decide. I'm going to give them about 3 minutes each, 2 minutes to check, 10 minutes total. Okay, so we are now going to move on to our place value fluency. So if you don't have an iPad, you're going to just use that personal whiteboard. And if you have your iPad, you're just going to follow along with me. And then as you notice, during the lesson, I carry my booklet around. I usually have a podium that I kind of move around on, but I try to follow the script somewhat. I mean, I use it to help me stay on track, but I don't read verbatim what it says. Quick, before we get started, if you see a place value chart that already has the values in it, so ones, tens, hundreds, or if you label your own with the values of each column, you're going to draw what they call place value discs without a value inside. So since this place value chart already has values written in, I can just draw discs like this. If it doesn't have values, and you'll see that later, and they'd go back and forth, if there's nothing written, you need to write the value inside the discs. So you need to write a 1 inside. Okay, so that's something you'll get used to. And then if it already has the values listed, you also can just draw a dot. So that helps too with some kids that might have a hard time drawing the circles and fitting everything in. So, and another thing with place value charts, and this is just routine you have to teach the kids, you can do them in rows of 5. I like doing rows of 5 because it's very easy to count and it's very easy to group tens. In your manual, and it'll show sometimes rows or columns of 10 going down. It'll also show them in like rows of 3 sometimes. I taught my kids 5s, rows of 5, and that seemed to be the most helpful. So as you're teaching, you can kind of decide what you want to do, but today I'm going to do rows of 5. Okay, I would like to show 4 ones as place value discs. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I want you to do it just like I am. So 4 ones, and I'm going to write the value below it, which is 4. How many, or I want you to say the number in unit form, and that means 4 ones. Okay, so go ahead and say the number in unit form. 4 ones. Can you say the number in standard form? 4. Very good. Now I would like you to draw 4 tens and write the number of the amount of discs you have below it. So you're writing a 4, not 40. The reason why we're not writing 40 is because you're going to have kids that say, then I have 40 tens. And 40 tens is not the same as 40. So, and then also, it's really easy to do your standard form because there's your standard form right there. I had someone in the earlier group, they wanted to write what the value was. You're writing how many discs you have, so keep that in mind. Okay, so let's say this number now in unit form. Ready? 4 tens, 4 ones. Whisper the standard form to your partner. Okay, I heard lots of 44s. Very good. Okay, next slide. So problem 2. And I like to I just do the same exact slide. I just double it up on PowerPoint because it eliminates erasing. It takes them forever to get that done. So we just move on. And if they ever need to look back at the lesson, they haven't erased it. So if you're using a personal board, you can erase. Okay, so here's our next one. 200s, 3 ones. So I'm going to give you a second. 200s, 3 ones. Make sure that you're in the correct place value column. 200s, 3 ones. So check on my screen that you've done it correctly. How many do we have in the tens column? 0. We do not have any tens. So what would that number be? 0 and 3 ones. Okay, tell your partner what the unit form is. Remember, that's the one with the words attached.
200s, 0 tens, 3 ones.
So you can say 0 tens, but you don't have to. You can just say 200s, 3 ones. Okay, now out loud, everyone together, let's say the standard form. 203. Very good. Okay, next one. We're going to do one more. They have it in your script to do 6 in 3 minutes. So think about it. 6 problems in 3 minutes. We're going to do 3 problems in 3 minutes. It's okay to drop a few off. But you don't want to always drop the 3 hardest off. So when you're making your lessons and deciding what you're going to do, pick and choose. So now I'm going to do the hardest one they have in here. If you just do the first 3, they're going to be the easiest. So keep that in mind. Okay, so get your ears ready because I'm about to give you a longer number. 2,000s, 300s, 5 tens, 4 ones. I will say it again. 2,000s, 300s, 5 tens, 4 ones. Okay, after you've written your number and your values, or the number of place value discs below it, would you please share your iPad with your partner and see if you both match? Okay, let's go ahead and say the number together in unit form. Here we go. 2,000s, 300s, 5 tens, 4 ones. And then our standard form? 2,354. All right, very good. The next step, so you see problem 4, I'm skipping it. We're out of time, we're moving on. So I want you to match your screen with mine, and people that don't have it, you'll have to look up at mine. The next step is the application problem. 99% of the time your lessons will have an application problem. I saw only a couple times last year piloting one without. an application problem. I don't really know why it wasn't in there. The process that EngageNY from kindergarten probably through whenever EngageNY stops, is, I don't know if it's 12th grade or not, it uses the same steps to complete word problems, and that's the RDW process. And this is in your manual, I think on page 13. It goes through the process, so if you forget it, you're welcome to take a picture. I made this chart. I probably will make a new one with the kids together at the beginning of the year, and I am going to, which is right now, right? I keep thinking it's further away. We will probably spend an entire math block just learning this process. You will use it every single day, so you might as well spend a little bit of time on it to get it drilled into their heads. So, and it really is a really great way to solve a word problem. So the R, read the problem, highlight and underline important information and numbers, and then we always underline the question or questions. And then the second step is to draw. So you are drawing something that's going to help you solve the problem. What I'm probably going to do with my kids, since, I mean, they did have some EngageNY in third grade, but for most of you, they have never had an EngageNY lesson. We're not going to have any examples under these, and as we solve our application problems together at the beginning of the year, we're going to add them onto our anchor chart as we come up with different ways of drawing models to represent problems. But these are some of the ways you can do it. And then you write, and the writing is really important. It's two things. You write an equation, and you write an answer statement. An answer statement is a full sentence answer. It's really hard to get students to do that at the beginning, but once they get it down, it's great, and you have, you know, somewhat of a writing component in your lessons as well. So they're forming their answer based on the question. So your answers need to say, Ben will need blank amount of sod for his garden. Okay, so that's the steps. So when you do this, I want you to do those steps. Okay, so let's go ahead and read the problem together as a class, and then I'm going to have you work with your partner on this. Ben has everyone with me.
Ben has a rectangular area 9 meters long and 6 meters wide. He wants a fence that will go around it as well as grass sod to cover it. How many meters of fence will he need? How many square meters of grass sod will be needed to cover the entire area?
Don't freak out. They're not going to be able to do area and perimeter right away, but maybe next year they will, because they will spend a good 2 months in third grade on it in EngageNY. That's how they teach them multiplication. So this year it might be a little hard to get them to do this problem day one, but hopefully it'll get better. Now, you will probably be doing this problem with them day one. So I'm going to have you work on it together, but in your own classroom, you'll probably be doing the steps together and doing it as a class. So go back through the steps with your partner, and I want you to go through them and solve the problem. And I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to do that. It's not very much time, so you're going to have to work quickly. Sorry. Oh, here. I'm going to need this back in a second, so just don't let me get through
So then, now we're going to do the now. We were short sometimes. Yeah, it's rectangular. And the area is, and the fence is to go like, so we know
If you get finished, will you flip your whiteboards over to the red so I know that you're ready to move on? It's okay, you can do it.
Oh, that's what we just did. We just did yeah, we did inside. So that's the inside. And then perimeter. What then? It'll be 6 plus 6 plus 9 plus 9. Yeah. So then they don't really do this. use the
So you have
vocabulary.
the whole second semester graded at these.
Yeah, and actually one of
the entire
a teacher this summer has been creating them. I think she's through a module of 3, and they're on the district website under additional resources for 4th grade. I don't know about the other grade level.
So you're,
Yeah.
the rest of the teachers at Santa Fe didn't necessarily do that?
No, like our 5th grade teacher, he just projected like pretty much the problem set the whole time on the board and worked the app. So it just depends on personal preference. And so I'm happy to share out what I do in like these, but when I was making them, I adapted them for my kids in my class. So you have to think about it that way too. And it forced me to go over the lesson before I taught it. Because I think teachers are getting in the habit of showing up and being ready to teach. Yeah. On PowerPoint, and then I saved it as a PDF.
So you
Well, I can share the PowerPoint with you. You can just keep saving as.
So Ben,
60 minutes. I mean about 90.
I mean, so you do
Yeah.
you do 60. So what's your workshop
So
time?
okay, so the manual was 60 minutes. Like that's what it said it'll take you. It took me about 90 every time. From start to finish. Yeah, but I have, and I'll talk about that when I how I structure it. Like they all come to the floor for the beginning, they go back, and then they work on their problem, then they come back. And so it's a whole group, but they're working with partners. And then when they're working on their problem set, I pull in small group time. And that Okay, keep an eye on your time. Try to get your answer statements written if you don't already have them. Okay, let's go ahead and bring it back together. So on your slides, on your Notability, you'll see the next one is the answer. Whenever I create these, there's a teacher, I do a teacher one and a student one. So I make the teacher one and then I delete slides out that I don't want the kids to see. So they don't have the Sprint answers on their screens. You guys do because I trusted you. But, and I'll show you in a little bit where a teacher in Shawnee Mission has already created a lot of these and put them on the SMSD website. So, and she has student copy, teacher copy. But we'll talk about that later. So, so right now I want you to be on your answer, and you can be looking up here at mine. Give yourself a pat on the back if you remembered to do the R process and underline and highlight. Ooh, okay. What about, how many of you remember to draw? And did draw a model to help you? And then how many of you wrote equations and answer statements? Okay, very good. So since this problem, Engage New York only wants me to spend 5 minutes on this, I'm not gonna solve it with them again. Like that's gonna take up way too much time. So what I'm gonna quickly do is, can somebody please share what their equation was for the first question of how many fence meters will he need? Anyone wanna share their equation? Yes.
Slide it up 9 plus 9 plus 6 plus 6.
Very equals
30 meters.
perfect. Very good. So the answer statement, Ben needs 30 meters of fence. Did anyone have a different equation for that one? Yes.
I did 9 plus 6 equals 15 times 2.
Okay. She did multiplication. So application problems, it's a way to get in your higher kids thinking. You could say, did anyone use multiplication to solve this? And you can kind of differentiate that way as well. Or did anyone think of 9 times 2 plus 6 times 2? Yeah? Okay. Okay, and then the answer to the second half of how many square meters of sod will he need, and remember this is area, is 54, Ben needs 54 square meters of grass. Say yes if you got that right. Yes. Okay, so that's all I'm going to spend on that. I'm going to move on. Okay, so this next part, I would like you to, you can decide. If you want to try out using the personalized whiteboards, you can. Or if you want to do this along with me on your slides, you can too. So the whiteboards, and if you have a class that needs a constant like change up, everyone close their iPads, let's move to the whiteboards. The way that you can slide in whatever sheet of paper you need for the day, and then the other side is red. So that's a way for them to show you they're done and ready to move on. So that's a nice thing about those. It's a quick glance across the class to see if they're finished. Well, I don't know about this, like the nicer ones. I got those, some at the dollar spot. I had a few of them, but the other way of doing it is just a sheet protector. So I'm sure like your school can order some of those for you. Thank you. And the sheet protectors are nice if you really like the whiteboard, personalized whiteboard. They can keep them in their math folders, pull them out each day. Obviously the like thicker ones wouldn't fit in a folder very well. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to use the whiteboard or if you want to continue with your iPad. So the concept development is the bulk of the lesson. This is where you're doing your teaching. Everything else up until now has been warm up and review. So keep that in mind. So you do want to get to this point, and that's why you don't want to spend 45 minutes on fluency. It's easy to do that, so just keep moving. So remember, our I can statement is I can interpret a multiplication equation as a comparison. So we're going to be comparing numbers in a place value chart and seeing how they compare. Okay, so let's move back, down here. So we're going to show how 110 is 10 times as much as 1, 1. So is my place value chart labeled? No. So what do I need to do with my discs? Put the label inside. So I want you to do exactly what I'm doing. I'm drawing 1, 1. How many units do I have, everyone? 1. What is the name of this unit? A 1. So as I'm writing these, I want you to, and I want you to count them with me together. So write and count together, and we're going to write 10. What are we doing? We're putting them in rows of 5. And in your teacher manual, if you see it, they're going in rows of, or in columns of 5, like that. I'm going to go across. You decide what you want to do. Okay, here we go. So we already have 1. Count with me. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, double check that you have 10 ones written. How many ones do I have, everyone? 10. Does anyone see a larger unit I can make with 10 ones? Go ahead and share that with your partner. Okay, who would like to share what they can make? 110. So I can make 110 with 10 ones, and how I'm going to do that is I'm going to bundle them together. So bundling is circling. Okay, so I'm bundling them together. It's really easy to bundle things in rows of 5 or columns of 5. And I'm showing that I can make a 10 with those 10 ones. So do you see how I'm moving it over to the tens column? And because you circled it, because you're teaching them to circle your bundle, they know it's been moved. It's no longer in the ones column anymore. So how many ones make a 10? 10 ones. So how many times greater is a 10 than a 1? 10 times greater. So we can say that 110 is 10 times greater than 1, 1. So 1, 1 times 10 equals 110, or 10 ones. So you're starting to see that multiplication problem and the comparison. Okay, next problem. Move on to the next slide. Now I'm going to show that 100 is 10 times greater than 10. So how many 10s do I need to draw? 10. Now your students, I can already see, are not going to be able to shout that out like you can. So this might be a lot more of teacher answering. So would you go ahead and draw your 10 tens? And remember, you need to be writing the number inside. And remember, with Engage New York, they're teaching kids multiple ways of getting the same answer. And so this way, with writing the numbers inside, is sometimes more visually pleasing to a kid than putting the column headings and drawing dots. So you're teaching them multiple ways. And on the test, they can pick which way they want to do it. So that's kind of the nice way. So you're kind of thinking, why am I writing a 10? Why am I writing every single time when I can be drawing dots? Because to one kid, this is going to be the way they want to do it. It's going to be a nicer way for them in their head. How many 10s make 100? 10. So 100 is how many times greater than 10? 10 times greater. So let's go ahead and bundle our 10s to show that 10 10s make 100. So 100 equals 10 times what? 100 equals 10 times. We can write it like this. We can also write it like this. So we can also say that 100 is equal to how many 10s? 10 10s. Okay, problem 3 is going to be you and your partner. This is what I want you to do. Go ahead and go to problem 3. I want you to read what's in orange at the top. Read it with me. 1,000 is 10 times as much as 100. So you and your partner, I want you to talk about how you're going to show that like we did before in your place value chart, and then go ahead and show it, bundling and moving it over. So go ahead and you and your partner talk it through and do it together.
So this is 900 and I need 10 times here, right? Totally saying I do see, okay, so teacher, it's like a ton. So 1,000 is 10 times as much as 100. So that's how I know that I write 10. 100. And we got a label. That equals. Okay, bundle it together. So we bundle it.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring it back. I see most of you are done. And if you do use personal whiteboards, they can flip it to the red when they're finished. If you're using iPads mostly, you can have your own, if they close their lid or if they put their hand on their head, whatever you want to do to show that you're ready to move on. Okay, so let's talk about the patterns that you've seen. How many hundreds did you have to draw to make 1,000? 10. So how many times greater is 1,000 than 100? 10 times greater. How many times greater is 10 than 1? 10. How many times greater is 100 than 10? 10. What's the magic number here? 10. So every time you move over one place value, how many times greater are you getting? 10. Okay, so guys, the standard that we're teaching is the place value in the right is 10 times greater than the place value to the left. So that is where we're getting. It says recognize that a digit in one place represents 10 times what it represents to the place to its right. So that's how you're teaching that movement over. I have the pattern. It's not what's on the screen. We'll see if it will catch up here in a second. You can go on your screen to the green box. This is all the things we just learned. I want you and your partner to talk about patterns you see and just go over these together while I'm putting this back up here. Okay, let's go ahead and bring it back. Now, I can't remember if I told you this or if I told another group, but if I told you, I'm telling you again because it's important. every lesson you teach does not need to be taught to mastery. So when you're finished teaching this lesson, you do not need to make sure that every student can do everything in this lesson. And EngageNY doesn't want that, because next lesson's going to build on it. And it's going to, in Fluency, you're going to see some of this that you did the day before. And so I think we get stuck in knowing, like, well, if they don't know it now, like, I'm not going to get to it again. Like, they got to know it. I'm going to stop and do it. Well, tomorrow's lesson's going to have this again, and the next lesson's going to have this again. So you don't have to worry about making sure every student has mastered it, because it builds, and it really does. Once I learned that, I was like, oh, okay, good, because this is a lot for some of our kids. Okay, we'll see if this comes back up. But you guys have it on your screen, so go ahead and go to the next problem. So you should be on problem 4. Is it problem 4? Yeah. Okay. This time, perfect. I would like you guys to label your chart. We're going to use dots instead of writing our numbers on our disk. This is a really quick way that you can have them label so they're not sitting there writing words, because that's going to take them a while. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. The reason why I don't have it pre-labeled on here is because on the exit ticket it says label your place value chart. And if you didn't do it during the lesson, they're not going to be able to do it on the exit ticket. So it's really important you look ahead and know what they're going to need to do at the end of the lesson so that you're teaching it during it. So because we are labeling our columns, I don't have to label my discs, and I can draw them as dots, or I can draw them as circles. So however you want to do it. This time we're going to show 10 times as many as 2 ones. Before I have you do that, I want you to remind me, what was 10 times as many as 1 1? 110. So think about it. What's 10 times as many as 2 ones? 20, 2 tens. So how many ones are you going to need to draw? 20. And how many are going to be in each bundle? 10. Okay, so go ahead and show me on your screen or on your board 10 times as many as 2 ones. And if you are finished, you can look up and check with mine and see how you did. Another way you can show this, if it makes more sense, in the script they have it this way. They did their 2 ones, and then they went down 10. Just pretend I'm going down 10 for the sake of time. And bundled them like this, and just did 1 arrow over and did that. So you as a teacher decide what you like and how you want your kids to do it. You'll see it multiple ways throughout. So that's how they did that. Okay, so let's go ahead and write our equation. So there's some space at the bottom of your paper there. And I want you to write what the equation is for 10 times as many as 2 ones. So talk with your partner about what you think the equation is going to be. Just talk about it right now, and then we'll talk about it in a second. Who would like to share their equation? Who wrote an equation? Anyone want to share?
I'll share.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
10 times 2 equals 20.
Okay, 10 times 2 equals 20. Give yourself a snap if you had that. Did anyone put the units on it? Did anyone say 10 times 2 ones equals 20 ones? Okay, so let's think about this equation right here. Is there another way I can write this? Can anyone think about another way I can write it? Maybe this time without ones in my answer.
20 equals 10 times 2.
Yeah, okay, so I can flip it around.
Oh.
Yeah, but think about it this way. 10 times 2 ones equals how many tens?
2.
Okay, so I can write it that way as well. How many times greater is a 10 than a 1? 10 times. So if I have 2 ones, and I multiply it by 10, how many ones do I have now? 20, which is equal to how many tens?
2 tens. Okay.
Yes.
Quick question. Is that intentional that you write the ones after 2, like so 10 times 2 ones? Is that in the handbook?
Yep. Yep.
I like it. I
Yeah.
teach the concept deeper, but I didn't know if it was just you or if that's what everyone
Nope,
should
that's
do.
in there. And in a second, when we look at the problem set, you'll see that they're expected to write the word form in.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's part of looking ahead before you teach and making sure you see what they're going to need to do in the end. Because if you don't do that during your lesson, you're going to have 15
Seems
kids.
like this is the concept better, not just the equation
Mhm.
to solve the problem.
Yep. And later in the year, when you're teaching fractions, you say 3 and you write it like this, 3 halves, instead of like that sometimes. Because if they can add 3 plus 2 halves, sometimes that's easier for kids than doing it that way. They know 3 plus 2 is 5, so they have 5 halves. So it's sometimes it can get, that's why they're starting off this way of writing the unit form in. To us that have been teaching it a different way, it's like, oh gosh, this is going to be really hard to get used to, but it really is helpful as you continue on. Okay, so it is 2:57. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip problem 4 just for the sake of time. We're going to go ahead and skip problem 5 as well. And the next step in the lesson is spending about 10 minutes on the problem set. Now the problem set is not meant, most students are not going to get through it in 10 minutes. It would be really hard for them to. You might have 2 or 3 that are able to. So what you need to do is you need to decide what are the most important things I want my kids to know at the end of this. Look to the assessment, see what they're going to need to prove on an assessment. Look to the standard, see what the standard says. And also look at the debrief questions, the questions that are in your lesson that you want kids to be able to talk about at the end. So I chose out of 7-ish questions, 3. I think it's hard for kids to sit there and talk through 7 questions. So I chose 3. So my first question I chose is having to do with the problem of Matthew's stamps and problems 1A and B. Well, on the lesson or on the problem set, I'm going to make sure that I have them doing 1A and 1B and Matthew's stamps question. So, if you're going to do must-dos, make sure that they match up to the questions you're going to ask in the debrief, because most of the kids are only going to get the must-dos done. So, what I would like us to do, I am not going to have you work through the problem set, because I think that it will be more beneficial for us to talk through like the resources and the time-saving suggestions I have and things that my school kind of worked out the kinks of. And so what I want to do is go through what I would do at the end of the lesson, and then we'll open it up for questions and sharing all the different resources you have. So after I'm done teaching concept development, the kids would go back to their seats if they were on the floor with me, or they would stay at their seats, and I would give them 10 minutes to do the problem set. And I will have the questions highlighted for them that I want them to do, either ahead of time or together we'll highlight. I usually always have it on their iPad to save paper, and it's in the lesson, so they just scroll to the bottom. They go back, they do their problems. If they finish the highlighted problems, they come up to my podium and they check their answers. I have my booklet up there with they go up and check their answers. During that time, that 10 minutes, I pull a small group of kids I know are going to need to work through them with me. or we go back and do problem 1 from the concept development. If they get it all checked, normally I give them an exit ticket, or they pick up an exit ticket at that point and they do their exit ticket. I think I might change it up this year and have them find someone to debrief with, and they will together look at the debrief questions that are after the problem set and answer them together, talking. Now, the first month I probably won't be able to do that. We'll probably do it as a group, come back and do it. The debrief is the hardest thing to get to every time. That is the thing that gets cut every time because you don't have time for it. By the time the kids, kids are all finishing at different times with their problems. So what I've heard from others is you could, and what I've done is I've looked at the debrief questions and I put them into my lesson at some point. I look at the language of them. I'm like, okay, well, I can ask, how did this problem help you solve? How did the problem we just did help you solve this problem, in concept development? I can throw them in there that way. You can have kids, like I just said, do them on their own. You can strictly be on a time schedule. 10 minutes is up. We're ready to debrief. Move on. Then kids can answer as much as they got done. So that is one thing that is hard to fit in. And it's 7 minutes in the lesson. And think about it, your problem set's 10. So if you think about time as like which one's more important, they're pretty close to the people that developed Engage or Eureka Math. They know that the talking and collaborating is an important part of this. So I would say that's going to be the struggle, is to try to fit the talking part in. But if you have a natural break, if you're going out to recess and you come back in, do the debrief for 5 minutes and then move on to reading, or something like that. So that'll be kind of a trial and error of deciding when you have time for things. The exit slip, I've been giving it at the end of the lesson as a quick check. That's what I look at. I don't go through and have them turn in their iPad assignment, or they don't re-upload it to Google Drive or anything like that, because what I care about is that exit slip. Do a quick check. I usually take it out of 5, and I have been putting them in Skyward as out of 5. There's nowhere near the weight of a test, but it's a quick way of seeing where they are. Teachers started the day with the exit slip from the lesson before, so that's an option too. Kind of as like your quick morning work to get your brain moving again for the next lesson. And exit slips I do completely on your own, because I want to know what they can do on the problem set. A lot of times I let them work with that partner they were with that day. So you're going to have your own way of doing things, but those are some kind of ideas that I have for getting that stuff in. Well, so we were using the district math up until we started the pilot. When the kids came in, they got on, and I always had math first thing in the morning. So they got on, my gosh, what is it called? Zern. Has anyone heard of Zern? Okay. Zern with a Z, Learn with a Z, is a site that's developed, it goes along with EngageNY really nicely. There's some drawbacks to it because you have to move through the lessons in order. So like if a kid misses a day and you want them to start on Zern lesson 3, but they weren't here yesterday or they didn't get through it, they're back on 2. So it didn't really always follow my lesson, but it was a good way of getting them started with math. But at 8:10, we said the pledge. We came to the floor for fluency. So there was no time for me to sit at my desk and, take attendance and check in morning work or homework or do any of that, because there wasn't time anymore for that. So we started math right when we began. So they were just on an app, and you can do a fluency app maybe for that first bit of math to get them, practicing their math facts. And I don't know if the math cadre is going to develop a new morning work. I haven't really heard. So I would say you could use an exit slip. They could do the homework. From the day before. You could have that as the morning work. That would be a good way. One drawback I've noticed to EngageNY is the spiraling component. So we were on fractions in April, and they had not seen long division since December. There occasionally was an application problem that involved division, but my kids when we were reviewing for Kansas assessments and we were relearning long division because they hadn't seen it. So as a teacher, you have to kind of evaluate if you need to, add in some extra stuff. Erin Smith has told me that, and so I feel like I can repeat it, that it's okay to do. Fluency is a review of concepts previously learned. If you notice that your kids are having can't figure out area and perimeter for the life of them, do that for fluency that day. You have 15 minutes for fluency, review area and perimeter. It's a warm-up. It's a quick way to get into the lesson. So you're not teaching anything new in fluency, so if you cut what EngageNY has for fluency occasionally, if you think you need it, it's okay to do that. So, or for example, like digit multiplication. If you think you need to pull that back in, do that during the fluency block. Okay, so some time savers and suggestions. There's a lot of words on here, so feel free to just read it on your screen. I have found, and most teachers that taught this last year have found that giving the student a copy on their iPad is really helpful for movement of the lesson. You don't have papers to pass out, you don't have markers to pass out, things like that. I did change it up occasionally when we were needing a change up. We would use the personal whiteboards. Some kids, you may have personal whiteboards the whole time and paper copies for them if they can't handle the iPad. I do print the exit ticket for every day, and I do 2 copies per page. So it's 10 pages a day of paper. So I don't know what the copy rules are going to be, but I didn't think that was too bad. And it's nice because I send those home, and the parents like to see that paper copy with some work on it. Another benefit to having kids have it on their iPads is when it came time for homework at home or it came time for testing review, they would go back and look at the lessons and see how we did things. And that was the first step before I helped them. I said, have you gone back and looked at the lesson? And they would save them on Notability, and they would organize them in folders however they wanted. So that was a benefit to having them on their iPads. The second thing, put in the back of your mind for maybe like second semester. First, when you first start teaching these, try to follow the way that EngageNY has it. If you're finding that you're struggling with getting everything in, most lessons, the problem set matches the concept development. So for example, problem 1 on concept development today was very close to problem 1 on our problem set. So you could, if you were having problems with time, do 1A together as a class and teach it like you would your concept development using the same language and the script kind of the way it is. And then when they go work on their own, they're doing 1B. And then they have 1A already done and they can see how they did it. And, oh yeah, 1B. But they can also look back and see how they did, this on here. So it does match up pretty nicely, and you'll notice that. But you can also teach the kids that. You're on problem 1. If you forgot what to do, look back at problem 1 on your slides and see what we did. So that, I wouldn't worry about that for the beginning. I would just follow the lessons the way that they're intended to be. If you're really having a hard time with time, you can look to that. You will never get through it all if you teach it all. If you do every fluency problem, and it's not meant to teach everything. So for example, on that place value, where we, at the fluency at the beginning, when we were doing these place values, sorry, let me get back to it. For problem 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 1 more that I didn't even put on there, they want that to take 3 minutes total. There's no way. No way we can get all of them done. So what I did was I did the first one, because the script is there for me to help me teach. Then I pulled in the second hardest and the last one, which was the hardest one. So you have to adapt because you can't get it all in. And then, sorry, it's probably annoying to watch me scroll through all those. Same thing with concept development. You have to use your best judgment of which ones that you think you're going to get done. So concept development today was 35 minutes. So it's 5 problems, 7 minutes a problem. So you have to decide what you think you're going to get in. And 18. Actually, I feel like the concept development includes the problem set. That's right. So it wanted you to teach the actual chunk of it in 25 minutes. It took us longer than that, and we skipped problems, and you're adults. So think about it, it would take longer. So you do not have to teach every single thing, but be cautious about what you cut, because you don't want to cut the hardest problems every single time. Yes?
I would use Khan Academy sometimes. Have you ever used that?
Mm-hmm.
They have all of the EngageNY lessons already in there for every grade level, and there are videos and tutoring. So it was something that I would use sometimes if in the morning, like you were saying, when we were using it, and then not, you can have them get back on and log into or click on whatever module you're on, whatever lesson they're on, and it'll just show them the videos, and if they already know it, they go through it pretty quickly.
Yeah,
And there's
great
quizzes on
idea.
it, so that's another one, that tool.
That'd be a great morning work problem, or morning work thing that they
Yeah.
could work through on their own. That's a great idea. So the must-do problems, do that. That'll help with getting through having students do problems. And then your low kids, they'll start at 1 and they'll just work through if you don't tell them which problems they have to do. So if you say you only have 1A, but then you have to move to 4, your low kids are at least going to get to 4 because they have 2 problems to do. So and not just do 1 and 2. Same thing with the debrief questions and assessments. Think of the assessments as a bank of questions. They're a bank of questions to use. It is not make copies and give them to them. So pick and choose what you think. I had whiteout out last year. I mean, you cannot expect the kids to get through all of it. And I don't think they expected, or EngageNY did not expect us to do, or teachers to do that, because you don't need them to prove they know a way to do a problem 7 different times, maybe two times. So keep that in mind, pick and choose. And the math cadre, I think their goal this year is to develop common assessments for Shawnee Mission for EngageNY. So that will be coming. I don't know when those will get rolled out, but I think that is our goal as the cadre this year. Okay, another way to save time is for them to check their own answers on their problem set. That helps. You can gauge if you can trust your kids with that or not. Okay, so a great resource, if you don't already know this, and I wrote this in red, is Embark online. And you can just go to it if you want right now, and save it as a favorite. So it's Embark with a C, and it's .online. If you just type in embark.com, I think it takes you to a different place. Okay, so I'm going to get off this screen and go to Embark so you can see it. Embark with a C .online. Okay, so Embark is San Francisco area, I believe, and so up at the top you can click 4th grade or whatever grade level, and then module. And they have a lot of great resources for each module on here. They also have topic quizzes. If you teach every single day the way I just did, everyone gets exhausted, kids and teachers. So I would have, when we ended a topic, we'd have a quiz day, review day, or a game day or something like that in between things. And I would come here for those. So I would go they have, if you scroll down, they have the quiz. You can see topic A quiz. They also have parent newsletters on here, and I believe the parent newsletters is the link to the ones that EngageNY developed. So let's see if it'll work. I gave the parent newsletter, when I began a topic, I would attach that with my newsletter, and I would also, every newsletter every week, I would put a little math blurb in there with a picture of a problem that the parents may be seeing. Okay, so this is actually not. This is that public schools website, but they have Engage New York on their website has newsletters, so that might be a better place to start. Oh, darn, I just got off the website. So they also have Google Slides on there, already made on Embark, but Jennifer Orzel, I don't know if anyone knows Jennifer, she was busy this summer, and she created, I'm gonna go to the SMSD website, slides for all the first 3 modules, I believe, similar to the ones that I just showed you, but you can start there, adapt it for your own classroom. So I'll show you where those are. Staff, curriculum and instruction, elementary. This is the same place you go for the curriculum maps. 4th grade. So I think there's a few different places to get there, but if you go to additional resources under 4th grade curriculum, and then go to Engage New York resources, they also have the parent tip sheets on there. So she has the Google Drive folder then, and then you can open Module 1, and within Module 1, she has, looks like, every lesson, and it has teacher slides and student slides. Now, you can go on here and decide if you like these, if you want to use them. Maybe look through the lesson I just taught and see if these make more sense to use than what I just did. But that is something, so you don't have to do everything yourself. What I would do is I would save this as a PDF and then share it to my students for them to open on Notability. So those are there for you as well. So they're a little different. They almost have, they have more written on there than I had on mine. You see she already has the dots and everything for it, but that's a good place for a resource too. Okay, any questions you guys have? I know it's overwhelming. I will tell you that the best way to do it is to try a few different ways that you think that I want to try it with the kids using their iPads, try it with the kids using their whiteboards, and decide what works best for you. Anything else?
Did you give any type of homework or anything
Yes.
like that, or did
So
you basically just use the exit ticket?
No, so I'll show you that real quick. I'll get on my computer because I'm on my iPad. So I used to use the district's homework Monday through Thursday, and so I did that same format, and I knew what I would be teaching that week, and I took the homework assignments from Engage New York and kind of cut and paste what I wanted. So all right, 0486. Ah. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so I will show you what I did. Okay, so this is what the kids would take home, or they would have on their iPads to do. And I gave it to them all at the beginning of the week. So Monday, and this is literally a screenshot, cut and paste of lesson 35. So we probably did lesson 35 the Thursday or Friday before. So 35, that's what they're expected to do Monday night for homework. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
And you did that all on their iPad?
Mm-hmm. Now, I did have some parents request paper, so I probably had 3 or 4 kids.
Google Classroom, or did they just show you?
They turned them in on Google Classroom, yep. And I think I might use Shobi this year just because it might be a little more user-friendly than Google Classroom.
Except for cost.
Except for what?
It costs.
Shobi
If you want there's a free version of Shobi,
Okay.
but it won't do as much as you would need it to do if you want to check it and return it on there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I use the free one a little bit. But I was going to ask, how do you plan to start this in the beginning of the year? Are you going to just jump right into lesson 1, or is it a whole group?
So I have high hopes of starting on Monday with
Okay.
lesson 1.
Okay.
I
Will it
don't
be
know.
heavily just all together, you plan to,
Yeah.
you mean, okay.
I
So
think,
not really send home the homework or anything
no,
yet?
probably not. I plan to start on Monday, except I'm thinking maybe I might want to do like one day, this is how we do a sprint.
Okay, yes.
Tuesday, this is how we do the read, draw, write process. That way when we get to the lessons, and I
Yes.
think actually now that I'm saying this is what I will do.
It's like start smart.
When we get, it's like smart start for math, because when we get to the lessons, just like with you, we had to pause a few times and talk about
Yes.
things. Then the lesson's not gonna be like,
Yeah. Right.
it's not gonna be a valuable lesson to them. So,
Baby steps.
like not the 14th, or the 21st. Okay, so the pacing guide has us starting the 21st with lesson 1. So you have an entire week.
Okay,
Because the 14th is the first real Monday, right? So
right,
then
so it'd be the
20th
following
is-
Monday?
So you have the first full week. So I would suggest going through, each component, doing a debrief, but even doing it with like what you did over the summer type questions. Like, this is what it looks like to turn to one another and talk. And on your desk, and I don't think I mentioned this, I put on some of yours, I think there were some accountability talk starters. Since you're the last class, if you want to take that with you, you can. I am going to print these and laminate them, and they can be used in any subject. So for kids to have out while they're talking, there may be more floating around or you can take a picture of it. Let's see. Let's see if there's some more. If you don't have one and you want to take a picture, I'm sure you can use it. Thank you.
For the slides. For the student slides.
Okay, let me help you in just a second. So I am going to have them use these, and I think the group I'm going to get this year needs this sentence starters and things like that. So as adults, it was kind of silly for you to have to use those, but for kids, I think it will be helpful. And there are tons of different ones out there, but this is one that our instructional coach shared with us. Anything else?
Well, I feel way better after.
I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
It's a complete learning process, and like I said, remember, you do not need to teach every lesson to mastery. So if you get through problem 3 and it's recess time and then lunch and then social studies, science, and you're like, well, we didn't even get to the debrief or the problem set. Okay, tomorrow, know that you need to work a little faster to get there. But it won't be the end of the world if they did not get it that day, because the lessons do build upon one another very nicely, and you don't have to feel stressed about that. So, I mean, looking ahead, lesson 2, same type of place value chart, circling, bundling, moving, all of that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then, if you wouldn't mind, if you have with your